we're hearing is a little bit of a lag still. So Kathy will provide a phone number if you want to get the audio. We are going to record the session, and this session is all about the sort of policy of it, not specifically how to do safe system assessments. So you know, it's not the most critical. It's a good one to do, but I might just pause for a second, Kathy, and let people catch up and work out what's going on. A few people have logged in and logged out. That seems to have helped a little bit.
So the phone number I've popped into the chat there. So the 071 3185 3730, and then you pop in the webinar ID and the passcode, and then you should be able to join via the phone. And usually that works much better. Usually we can see if people have done that.
Give it a second.
Yep. So, oh, sorry, I sent it to all panelists. Great. Sorry about that.
Okay, we've got, looks like one person's dialed in already, so that's good.
Thanks, Corey. Sorry, I sent it to panelists, not attendees.
Okay, I think a few people might, I see one person's dialed in on the phone, so they can listen that way. Hopefully some of you are actually hearing this fine. Maybe if you're hearing everything okay, can you just type something in to say that's okay? Or we're just trying to work out whether this is across everybody or it's just some isolated regions that are having bad internet. So if anybody, okay, right.
Could turn the video off, so probably if we turn the video off, Ken, that might...
Okay, we'll turn the video off. Okay, we've got a few people dialing in to listen. That's good. It's all happening here. I think what we're going to have to do is press on and probably keep it fairly short. Dial in on phone if you can. I do have slides. You should have slides on your memory stick and in Schoology, in Moodle if you, yep, so there's no video at the moment. So you might need to follow the slides in a PDF version.
Yeah, and look, if you've got questions along the way, hopefully you can still get through to me on email. So just shoot me an email as we go. And if you're on the phone and you can't do the chat function, and I'll get those questions to Ken that way.
Yeah.
All right, I might hit record now, Ken, and hope for the best. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to move through some stuff. If it's really being no good for you and you can't dial in and hear and you're frustrated with it, just maybe hang up, watch the recording later on, and you can spend the time finishing off your safe system assessment if you like. But apologies about this. It looks like there's some of the regions of Queensland that the internet seems to be having trouble, and others seem to be okay. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen, and that'll probably cause a lot more trouble, no doubt. Let's do that. Okay, so Kathy, I'll let you work behind the scenes on the chat and see how it's all going, and assure people that there is a recording. We might even put up one of our pre-recorded ones just to have it a bit more consistent with some questions and the like. But anyway, this session is our last session. So as I mentioned, you should be well progressed into your Safe System Assessment. And if you have any questions on what you're doing there, please pop them into the chat, or put your hand up. We can unmute you, or email them through to Kathy, and we'll go through those. What I want to talk about for this session is really more holistically about safe system assessments, how they're being used in Queensland. We want to just follow the process of a safe system assessment within an infrastructure project. So this is a process. When would you do them? When's the best stage to do them? Who should be doing them? All of those sort of policy style things. And then the difference between safe system assessments and road safety audits, which is a very common question, or a common thing that people will say is, why would I need to do a safe system assessment? We're going to do 5 road safety audits at minimum on this project. Surely that's our safety assurance, and why would we need this? Remember to look for your wallies. So Kathy, definitely you're going to have to put up a recording in case people want to do that. There is a quiz at the end of this module with some questions, and Wally is one of them, of course.
I might just give everyone the wallies this week. Yeah.
Okay. Geez, the internet has saved you all. I'm going to move through this.
Sorry, Ken, we're on the slide which says Safe System Assessment Example, and it's a graph with 4 green bars on there. So that's the slide that we're on at the moment.
Thank you, Kathy. Good point. I'll have to be, reminding people of that. So, yeah, these ones don't seem to be numbered. I apologise for that. But yes, it's got 4. It's a bar graph, 4 green bars with little bits of red at the bottom. And what it is an evaluation, the output of an evaluation of 35 safe system assessments done on major intersection projects. Not intersection projects, major infrastructure projects. Big, there were like huge bypasses, town bypasses. There were major duplications, really big jobs. So a lot of huge infrastructure. And what happened was that there were safe system assessments done on these at a very early stage, a sort of strategic concept stage or a concept design stage. And then what this looked at was using a crash prediction model, basically ANRAM. It looked at the expected numbers of death and serious injury if no project was to happen. And then with the original sort of concept strategic design that was coming out of the big design houses, and then the high alignment with safe system principles after the safe system assessment. So that's the assessment was done. It recommended some things, and the main things that were recommended were taken, and that was recalculated into a prediction of death and serious injury. And then what was actually adopted and taken forward for detailed design. So this is a really interesting output, and I'm going to draw some things on the screen here, which some of you may not see because if you're following along on the phone, but I'll talk you through it as well, and you could watch the recording if you want to see this. So what it was showing was that for no project to happen, there would So if no investment happened on that existing road environment, in the next 20 years, there would be about 8,000 serious injuries and about 344 fatalities on the existing roads in those areas. As a 20-year time period. With the original design, so what the design houses spat out, and these are massive projects, remember, we dropped that down to somewhere around 6,700 serious injuries, 286 fatalities. So the first thing that says to me is that we do get a road safety improvement from these big infrastructure projects just being churned out. Absolutely. So that's good. No doubt we get efficiency improvements, freight efficiency, operational efficiency, and other benefits. So this is just the prediction on death and serious injury. When the safe system assessment's done and it comes back with and if they were to adopt those things, it drops it down to 3,800 serious injuries and 167 fatalities over those areas. So a big drop there from what the original design was coming out. So it shows you the value that we can get out, if we're pushing for high safe system alignment stuff. The other thing this says to me, which I find quite interesting, is you say, well, hang on a second, what's going on here? Why is there this large, we're still getting 167 fatalities and 3,890 serious injuries for our high safe system alignment? Isn't safe system, aiming at 0 death and serious injury? Shouldn't that be a 0 if we're going to do all of this? Well, this is, I suppose, the indication of our limitations in knowledge in terms of what treatments we could do that would actually bring those numbers down further. It's an acknowledgement of extreme behaviours that we are at this stage unable to provide infrastructure to cater for. So it's got those challenges we have, like motorcyclists and incidents with motorcyclists. So, and it also has political challenges in there. So I suppose even the high alignment with safe system principles, if we say, well, you're doing continuous barrier systems on this town bypass, and you've got separated interchanges and the like, there is going to be a residual, maybe motorcyclist crashes, and some very rare events as well, that we, in order to treat those at the moment with our set pool of knowledge, we would have to maybe put the speed limit down and enforce that speed limit to maybe 50 kilometers an hour or something to really get us to 0 death and serious injury. So it's seen that these are sort of understanding the strategic objective of the project and getting us the best we know of now in those sort of general envelopes. Well, so that's, to me, says we've still got a hell of a lot of work to do in our industry across all the elements of the safe system to actually get us to understand how we could get things to a 0. Then if we go over to what was actually adopted by the project, and this is interesting because we go back up a bit and it goes up to 5,300 basically serious injuries, 227 fatalities as the prediction. So this increase is, so what's happened is that the project team and the designers have got the safe system assessment and they've looked at it and they've gone, well, we can do these ones, but we can't do these ones. And we can't do these ones for, a number of reasons. It could be cost, it could be cultural heritage issues, it could be political community acceptance. So they said, these are the ones that we can do, and these are the ones we can't. And so the ones they can't is to why it's back up a little bit there. But what you see is the difference between the original and the safe system adopted, or the adopted one, that is immediate value of a safe system assessment. the assessment's been done, it's come back, it's made recommendations, they've changed things. So that's amazing in my mind. And it's even more amazing when you consider that every one of the original designs assessed, I think except one or two actually, had been subject to road safety audits and been altered accordingly. So this is one point where people would say, oh, no, I don't need safe system assessment. I did a road safety audit on the concept. Well, this graph reminds you that you can get way more out of it. Now, hopefully one day the road safety auditors are more aligned with this thinking, or push harder, or try to get some more changes happening in that space. But for now, safe system assessments are really providing that wonderful additional benefit. Now, Kathy, any updates on internet or any questions?
Looks like we've got, a good third to half the group has dialed in. So obviously lots of internet issues up north. So hopefully everyone who has dialed in, some people can still chat, which is interesting. And then for everyone else, hopefully they're joining in on the slides that are in Moodle or on your USB, which we finally see is needed for backup, which is good. But no questions at this stage. If anyone does have any questions, try the chat if the chat works, or via email, which I'm monitoring as well.
Thank you, Kathy. And yes, we're all adapting here, which is good to see. So the next slide after the bar graph is one just with a few dot points on some of the benefits of safe system assessments. I don't think I need to go through these in detail with you. They're there in case people ask about these things, but it is a really good way of determining how well a project aligns with safe system principles. It's as you're finding out, it puts numbers to it, so it's quantitative. It has nice graphs, so people think it's at least very sort of scientific to a degree. So it's pretty good, and it clearly demonstrates those sort of airy-fairy principles into some hard actual numbers and decision points, which is great. It's a method for comparing project designs for their alignment with safe system principles, and that's great. We're just currently doing some safe system assessments for a massive road project for New South Wales, and eight design options with different options, at intersections and different alignments to take. And it's just a wonderful tool to add into that multi-criteria assessment, and it quantifies things, and it just says, well, this option aligns best. And if you're going to go with any of these options, here are some extra ideas to make them align better with safe system principles. It can inform design changes to move the project closer to safe system objectives, that objective of eliminating death and serious injury. And yeah, so you can actually make some big suggestions. It really helps to assist planners, designers, project managers to move closer to moving that safe system from theory to practice, and it's a sound basis for future planning. So I'm just going to take you through some process guidance on safe system assessments. This is a little snip out of the Victorian guidelines, a suggestion of where the best value of a safe system assessment is, and it's early in a project, possibly at an existing road also, but really at a project level, you want to do it early. Once you've got a detailed design or the like, safe system assessment is probably not your tool to use. A road safety audit is. The reason for that is more sort of what is willing to change when there's a full detailed design set and you start talking about fundamental changes to the intersection form, it's not getting any traction. And the audit tends to look at and accept what is at the detailed design stage at least, what is being proposed and looks for the details of any issues. So early on is better. The difference between a safe system assessment and a road safety audit. This is a little bit old now, and there's road safety audits continue to evolve. I'm currently heavily working on the Austrade's Guide to Road Safety Part 6, Road Safety Audit, and updating that to further move some of these areas along. So what we see there is just a comparison between the two, and so identifies issues that impact the likelihood of crashes. Both safe system assessment and road safety audit do that. Identify issues that impact the severity of crashes. I'd say a road safety audit sometimes does that, and a safe system assessment always does that. The reason I say sometimes for a road safety audit is that there's continual and plentiful examples of road safety audits that do not recognize the severity of incidents. So it's solely a likelihood-driven analysis for different aspects. Now, those of you who are road safety auditors, you might say, well, but hang on, it's a in your risk assessment in an audit, you factor in severity. Well, the real classic example of this is that large signalized intersection where the auditors will look at, what is the sight line to the signals? Is it got mast arms, LEDs? Is it visible, and all those things? The idea of red light running is sort of in their head, but the severity and angles of those crashes as they occur does not tend to get any sort of consideration in a lot of those audits. So sometimes, maybe you could say often, but there's certainly ones that don't. Identifies issues that impact exposure to crashes. Well, that's pretty rare in a road safety audit. There's a cross there, but some would. But certainly the exposure is a key element of safe system assessments. Recommendations for improved road safety outcomes. Well, they both do that, absolutely. Audits are great. And they provide great value, and you've got to continue to do them. Safe system assessments also provide that as well. Considers old road users. Yes, audits should be doing that, and they most often do, as safe system assessments do. It's a bit clearer in a safe system assessment because you have that category of pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists. You have to. You can't avoid it. An auditor may be somebody who is not focused on some of those areas. They're just, I don't know, maybe a heavy vehicle person or something. They should be thinking holistically, but yes, safe system assessment forces them down that way. Focuses on fatal and serious injury crashes only. Well, safe system assessments are holistically focused on that. And audits look at sort of these other potential minor injury or property damage crashes as well. And that's the next one. Look, integrate safer vehicles in. Well, safe system assessment does that with the qualitative questions. Safer people, sometimes for an audit. So there's, good auditors are also thinking about the, is it near a pub? Are they going to be intoxicated pedestrians? And these sorts of issues as well. But certainly a safe system assessment does that. Post-crash care, I don't think I've ever seen a road safety audit that dealt with post-crash events or thought about those. Makes recommendations to redesign the project. Road safety auditors are told not to redesign the project. That's not your role. Identify possible issues. The safe system assessment, I suppose redesigns may be a bit of a strong term. It's more like make, suggestions on redesign. Encourages innovative design to improve harm minimization. The other thing is that a safe system assessment can also be done at a program level. So it's very scalable at a whole community level if you want it. Okay, Kathy, we're at about 11 o'clock now. So perhaps we just take a little pause. And again, we might, just gonna stop sharing my slides if I can find that.
Yeah.
We might have a little opportunity for internet to get itself back in order as well. So do you want to just take a minute now for a stretch?
Yeah, and it's 10 a.m. in sunny Queensland, not to freak anyone out in case they were thinking they're an hour in front. That's just us, Ken.
Oh, okay, yep, okay. 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Just gone past 10. So let's have a stretch, and we'll get back into it in a minute, and just do some final things to cover off, and then we'll call it for today. Considering yeah, we'll finish probably a little bit early because yeah, we've got all the dial-ins. Okay, I'll give it a minute. Okay, I'm going to get back into it. I think everybody should be able to hear me, hopefully. And just going to share my screen again. And those that are following on via the PDFs or the slides by themselves, we're on the slide that has the SSA process, and it's got a sort of flow diagram of the process, which I'm just going to sort of lay out here. So this is sort of, you've got a project. It's at maybe the concept, or maybe you've got options. You've got options on the table. And what happens then when it's decided a safe system assessment is going to happen? First thing is to determine whether you do the full or the rapid. Now, what was the term that Queensland used? Not rapid, light. Light. So a full or a light safe system assessment. And really it's the project team that determines that based on either policy that's written. I don't think there's specific policy on that in TMR at the moment, or just a determination of whether they feel that this is big enough to warrant that or complex enough to warrant that. The team is selected. So again, the project team, the client, the designer select an audit team, very much the same as road safety audit in that sense. So you might engage a consultancy to do it. You might ask your independent internal team to do it, or however it's done, or maybe you decide that it's going to be done internally within your team. There's a little bit more lenience in safe system assessments for that degree of separation. So road safety audits very clearly have to be completely independent of the project. There's a little bit more leniency towards some involvement in the project in the safe system assessment in general, but it is stated in a lot of the guidelines that they should be independent from the project. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Commencement meeting. So again, like a road safety audit, you'd have some sort of meeting where you'd talk about the project, everybody gets on the same page, understands it, hand over all the designs, talk about traffic volumes, future growth, things to be aware of, and the safe system assessment team takes all that information away. And yeah, continues to refine and define and understand the project context. Things like movement of place categorization, the road use hierarchy, any strategic objectives of the project, all that sort of good stuff. Inspect the site. So again, getting out there and actually looking at it, even though it's at a fairly conceptual stage often, you're still looking at the site, trying to understand the movements, the patterns, any land use things you might have missed, existing issues that are there. You've got to get your baseline existing conditions scoring done. So that's a real reason to get that existing conditions. And it helps you also understand how the project's going to rectify any of the existing issues. You complete that matrix for the existing conditions and then for any other design options. You then consider these wider elements of the safe system in a full safe system assessment. The light is really just focused on that infrastructure side of things. You identify treatments to improve alignment with safe system principles. So this is above and beyond what they've already put down in their design. You say, well, this thing is your design is going to significantly improve alignment with safe system principles. You've gone from a score of 300 down to 150, but here's some other things you might want to consider adding even to that to get it lower than 150. You write up your safe system assessment report, and as you saw there, you have a template available, Queensland template, which we encourage you to use. It's good to get that consistency. You respond, the report is handed over to the client, the project team, the designer. They go through, and it's their responsibility then to sort of respond to those ideas that have come in. So they'll probably look at the scores, they'll take interest in that. They'll say, oh, that's interesting. Option 7B actually has the best alignment with safe system principles. But for 7B, they've also suggested these extra things. And then they make some responses to any of the recommendations / considerations that have been put on the table. So that is when you're writing up your safe system assessment, you leave that client response column blank, the big reminder to them to respond. Now that they can respond to the audit, the assessor, that's fine, or they can just respond and keep that to themselves. But it's just that reminder, action on their part is required. Amend the designs. So again, hopefully something actually changes as a result of this, get better alignment with safe system principles. So that is the full process there. Now, there is another step that can happen, and it's after the response. So the client looks at it, ideas come forward, they say, yeah, I like these 3 ideas. We can do those. We can't do these other 4 for these other reasons. But these 3 ideas, can you now tell us what the score would go down to? And then you would sort of just go back to down here. You'd add another matrix. You would score that, and you would add that into the mix. And what that does is it actually provides a really nice tool for a project team to show the progression of alignment with safe system principles in their design and development process. So they might be able to say, well, we started out here with these 10 options, and this one was the one that we ended up choosing. it had the second best alignment with safe system principles, but we took on the recommendations from the safe system assessment team. We added those things in and it brought the score. So we originally had it, the existing conditions were a score of 300. This one we chose had a score of 150, so really good improvement. But we even took some more on and it got it down to 125 as a score. And to me, that's a wonderful story to show that you're continually pushing to try to get the best alignment with safe system principles possible. Okay, Kathy, any questions come in that I should be dealing with?
No, all good at the moment.
Okay. So Queensland currently doesn't have a register of safe system assessors. Victoria does, and other jurisdictions are just sort of thinking about this. I've had a bit of a chat with Andrew and colleagues in there about how this could happen. I mean, the easiest way is adding a column to your road safety auditor database that says safe system assessor, and you just tick that. I mean, the majority of safe system assessors are road safety auditors, but not, you don't need to be. So, you could be just a safe system assessor, but you've got a database and everything's there. You've got a process in place. That would be the logical place to add it. Nonetheless, Victoria has one, and they just simply list recommended safe system assessors. And so I'm not going to take you to that. It's a Victorian one, but you could get yourself on the Victorian register if you wanted, if you're really gung-ho about this and wanted to do that, might be something. So they say, you want to get a good understanding of safe system principles and then the assessment process, and they recommend this course to do, or so this is the course you're currently doing. Then you gain some experience doing safe system assessments. Then you submit a safe system assessment and they mark and review it, give you some comments back, or they put you on the register. And then it's just a list like your Queensland Road Safety Audit list. So just list and contact details. So we talked about earlier your policy, and Andrew Pine there mentioned it again. You have to do safe system assessments on your infrastructure projects. It's in there. So hence them spending that time to try to make some tools behind it. But what you're getting very close to now is being armed with the ability to undertake these yourself from a first principles perspective, to report on it consistently and have a safe system assessment there. Yes, there's sort of endless digging and work to be done in using these tools and refining and narrowing things down. By simply what you're doing through your existing assignment, that is a very great step forward. You've done a huge amount of the safe system assessment using the tools and things that are developed, are just honing that down and refining that further. So I really encourage people not to spend weeks and weeks doing safe system assessments. There's a certain amount of time that must be spent doing them, but they are a broad brush tool, and they should be treated accordingly. Now, that spreadsheet's trying to really refine it to a bit more of a precision tool, and you all probably know the challenges you can get into with that sort of stuff. So this, again, is not Queensland requirements, but I'm just showing you what some other jurisdictions do. The Victorians and the South Australians just put some dollar values and mandate safe system assessments on different dollar values. Your road safety policy there, the organisational policy, just says that safe system assessments are going to be done on projects. So doesn't go to that level of detail. But this is trying to get that sort of risk-based decision making around which projects would get the full safe system assessment, which would get the light version, and which might get some other ways to show alignment with safe system principles. So what's the difference between a full and a light, I suppose? Well, the best way for you to do that, the best way to do that for you is to download out of your, what was it, L drive, the the light version of the template and the full version of the template and have a look at the differences. That'll be the easiest way to do it. But what you tend to find is that the full one looks holistically at the other elements of the safe system, the other pillars, as some people call them. So investigation into the people, the vehicles, the post-crash care. There's some more requirements around meetings, workshops with the project team, and also the site visit is there's technically not required on a light, although people seem to do it quite a bit anyway because you get some really rich, valuable information from that. But a light could be done at a desktop level. They're the main differences. Okay, so that gets me to the point where I've pretty comfortable that we've covered how to do a safe system assessment, what a safe system assessment is, how to do a safe system assessment, some of the policy things that are emerging in Queensland. And it also, you know, you've got a good solid foundation on what the safe system is, the principles. So I think you're really well armed now to do your safe system assessment, to go out there and sort of use the tool, promote the tool, talk to people about the advantages and why it should be done. The last thing is about, you know, how do you make the recommendations or considerations within a safe system assessment? And we've covered off quite a few things already about treatments that have high alignment with safe system principles. But I did want to cover off a variety of road environments just to get some ideas in your head. If you happen to do a safe system assessment on a motorway, what you might come up with as recommendations, or if you do it in a local street, local area traffic management scheme, what you might come up with for recommendations, and everything in between.
Ken, just a quick question that's popped up. Do we require people to use the Queensland template for the assignment? No.
So that must have been something that they have very recently put together. I actually haven't looked at that in detail. What I saw there from the screen is that it is almost identical to what you are currently using. And just for ease and consistency for this assignment, use the one that you have in Moodle on your memory stick. Use that one. But I'm saying for future ones, you use theirs. But from the look of it, it's you know, it was so much the same that they haven't even changed the fonts and the colors of the one that I've given you. So they've just taken the one that I've given you and then maybe just done a global replace of Victoria with Queensland or something. But yeah, so just use the one we've given you.
And a few people it's been a pretty tight time frame in terms of from last session to this session to get the site visit and the report done. So absolutely, you can have some more time. I'll extend it out to next Thursday. So that will give Ken a chance to do some marking Friday and over the weekend. So a big shout out to about 10 people have already submitted, which is fantastic. So thanks for doing that. But understand that, it can be a bit of a tight turnaround time. So I'll extend it out to next Thursday for those of you who are needing a little bit more time to get it finalised.
Okay, that's very nice of you, Kathy. And so get onto it. I really think once you're into doing it, it's not more than hopefully a few hours work writing it up. There's a bit of time looking at the site. But it's fun. It's fun to get out there, to look, to critically analyze, to score things. I really love it. I hope you enjoy it as well. But yes, the challenge is the mountain of other work you've got to do as well. I just saw something pop up there. Yeah. So submission by next Thursday. And in the interim, get in contact if you've got questions.
Yeah, and if there's something that you want to change, you certainly can resubmit. But yeah, get in touch if you want to talk something through, perhaps, or maybe Ken. Now you will mark them, and if you've got some some, I guess, concerns about some areas that people may have gone off track with, there's, you know, this isn't the be all and end all. You get a chance to resubmit after that. So you might want to take on some feedback first and then have another go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been doing a lot of that. And we have that benchmark requirement of 80%. And certainly there's been a lot of people and groups that have gone through the course and in their first attempt have certainly not got that to that mark, but they get detailed comments of where they've misinterpreted things or with things that they're missing, and they simply go back, update that, resubmit it, and then they get their next mark, and that is the one that then is taken forward to your grade book and the certificate. So you can resubmit. What is it? 2 resubmissions. So you could submit 3 times. Your first one, resubmit, and you could resubmit again if you wanted. So you've got plenty of opportunity to gather feedback and resubmit. Okay, that's good. So move through this fairly quickly. Road environments. I'm conscious that some of you are probably still having a little bit of trouble hearing or seeing or the like, so I don't want to labour this, but I do want to cover off a raft of road environments, residential environments, strip shopping centres, mixed-use arterials, low volume rural, high volume outer suburban arterial, major urban freeways, and major rural highways. So just briefly talking about each of these and what would align really highly with safe system principles. Okay, audio's good. That's good. Maybe the old NBN's come through with the goods. So the way I do this is I just picked a random photo that we've got there from, I don't know, site visits or wherever we're out, and I pop it up and just either I will just walk through some things that could be done to align better with safe system principles, or I will ask you your thoughts on it. So maybe we will start with this one. And in the chat, if anybody wants to put down, you know, you don't know anything about this road or this road environment, I'll tell you a few things. It's a 50 km/h default speed zone, and this is a major arterial, or not a major arterial, it's an arterial road down the end there. That's about it. So any ideas on things that, you know, you might suggest to alter to get higher alignment with safe system principles? Anybody want to pop something into the chat? Looks like some people might have abandoned the chat.
Just give people a chance to type in.
Sorry, yes. Okay. Yes, I did. I spoke too soon because we've got some great ideas that have come in. So we've got traffic calming, local area traffic management, LATM, humps, chicanes, speed humps, and even ideas of raised platforms are coming in as well. All great things, and all really trying to reduce the through speed of any vehicles or make it less attractive to use that area. So the slowing down is going to reduce the severity of crashes, probably also the likelihood of crashes, more time to see, to avoid, and the severity certainly just due to our biomechanics, physics, and the like. The you know, the idea that it's a slower route, it's not a great rat run, could reduce the exposure to crashes. So that's a win there. The idea of banning on-street parking came in. So certainly that would improve the likelihood of crashes, open sight lines, easier to see. What I would always warn with that is the opening up of the road environment, encouraging higher speeds of vehicle throughput. So you want to complement that with traffic calming measures, and you've got that general general win. Wonderful opportunity to utilize that extra space for bike facilities. I mean, the age of pop-up bike lanes is, we're in it. And so, you know, removing parking and replacing with a separated sort of pop-up bike lane or the like is a wonderful way not only to improve those sight lines, lessen the likelihood of crashes, but it also gives a facility dedicated for cycling. So that's a good one. We've got Andrew's good comment there. Airbags for the pram in the background there. Well, I'm up for it. Innovative. And what I really do like about that comment is that Andrew is not just looking about pouring concrete. Yeah, he's looking wider at what do we got there in the people, the vehicles, the post-crash care as well, and certainly things that you would you'd want to look at and when you're doing your holistic assessment. So nothing's off the table. Anthony has popped in there, making it a cul-de-sac, blocking off that arterial road access. And that is a wonderful, wonderfully high aligned with safe system principles in terms of major changes to the exposure of crashes, because vehicles can't get that through, can't get that access, can't get that rat running effect. So absolutely great idea. And in fact, that is one of the first things that you really should be looking at in these sort of urban environments. We have an obsession in Australia and New Zealand to a degree on access onto major roads. We seem to just want to continually provide this full access all the time. And we really need to question that, because we know that that causes not only the conflict point dangers at that access point, but also the permeability of residential areas or these areas which we don't want. Some really great comments there. Well done, everybody. So this one I might just run through myself to save us just a little bit of time again. So this is Bondi Junction in Sydney there. And this is, interestingly, is a 50km/h road, believe it or not. This one is. This one, I think, is a slower one. But obviously high pedestrian activity. That's the entry to Bondi Junction Station, or one of the entries there. So, you know, I mean, it's a discrepancy in land use, movement of place categorization, and the operation of the network. The challenge they have are the buses. It's a major bus route out of Bondi Station and straight up and down there. So the bus, some of you who have worked with the bus operators have some very specific demands in terms of timetable and things, and any hints at slowing these things down gets very strong pushback a lot of the time. It's really one, and interesting. I looked at this about 5 years ago, and the idea of this area operating at the speeds that it can operate is just so far from aligned with safe system principles. Huge, dominant vulnerable road user use and agreed sort of strategic objective of the area, yet pushing that. So yeah, mate, really said traffic calming throughout the area. Shared zone, as in pedestrian priority, was one of the recommendations we came to with accompanied calming, blocking it off to passenger vehicles. So maybe the buses can, private passenger vehicles, the public passenger vehicles maybe could go through, but these sorts of ideas. So you really you want to make it so slow for vehicles through here, because our dominant road users are the vulnerable road users, the pedestrians and the cyclists. Raised platforms, the buses don't like those, so maybe you do it with cushions, speed cushions all along. Even, you know, the bollards that open when the buses are coming, the boom gates or bollards that go up and down, just so it's a completely sort of separated area like that. Unfortunately, the pushback from the traffic operations people and the bus people didn't accept anything. No changes happened back then, despite the designs and the like. And yeah, you know, tragically, two pedestrians killed in that in recent times, and some serious injuries. So it's kind of one of these things where we're really trading off there, and it goes against the movement of place categorization as well. This is a place for people. There's no ifs or buts about that. Maybe a little bit of movement categorization, but we really need to sort of focus on that sort of stuff. The idea of putting fences up to corral pedestrians into some specific crossing points, I was quite against in this environment because of the huge amount of pedestrian activity and the way people would move around it. And I just saw that as trapping pedestrians on the road, treating them like sheep to a degree, and that is not how pedestrians react. And I just believe if you went large pedestrian fencing on you know, across there, and you know, fencing all of this and the like, you degrade the place value of it. You would actually potentially cause some issues. So that's that one. Let's look at this mixed-use arterial. They're always a challenge, mixed-use arterials. And what we mean by mixed-use arterials are the road that has a high movement function, but also the high place function, tends to, when you do a road use hierarchy on it, everything pops out as priority, you know, priority traffic route, priority public transport route, priority pedestrian area, priority cyclist route, and you go, oh, geez, we've got everything going on here. So I'll get some ideas from the group there. This one currently operates again at 50 kilometers per hour. Is it 50 or 60? I think it's 50. And so some ideas on how we could get better alignment with safe system principles. In this sort of environment, thinking that, you know, they're sort of saying everything's a priority. I'll give it a second to see what comes in. Okay, so got some good ideas already coming in. Staging the pedestrian crossings with a refuge, I think a very good one. That would reduce the likelihood of crashes. Sometimes people want to assign that to the exposure to crashes, but it's very much the likelihood of crashes in a safe system assessment. So, but staging the crossing. So pedestrian fencing, certainly an option, and you'd want to look more into, again, the impact on the place value of the area, but that may be an option as you increase the importance of traffic throughput, priority traffic routes. Yeah, pedestrian fencing becomes something that you certainly want to add to consideration. Again, that's a likelihood. That's going to reduce the likelihood unless you've somehow built it so there is absolutely no crossing possible whatsoever, and then you're onto exposure. Or that you've, you know, provided other opportunities to change where they cross, you know, grade separations or underpasses or the like, and then you might alter the exposure. Corey's made a good comment about all the parking in the bus lane. So is that something that would cause potentially some road safety issues? Yes, it might. The bus would then have to change its lane. We might have an increase in other type crashes. The sideswipe style crashes may cause some pedestrian challenges as well. So that could be thought about altering. Raising raise safety platforms for the pedestrian crossing, I think that's a great idea. I really think that in these environments, we need to put that squarely on the table. It's not often done, but certainly something there's more interest in it now. There's more examples of it happening. The wonderful reason about popping it across the pedestrian crossing, as pointed out there, is that it will reduce the speed, the likelihood and severity at the conflict point with pedestrians, or the main conflict point. And if we can corral pedestrians a bit more that way or entice them there, that's good. And it also acts as a speed calming across the area, almost like your local area traffic management as well. So a really great one there for likelihood and severity of crashes. Narrow the lanes a bit and create some concrete medians to separate. Love the idea. Again, the narrow lanes will slow speeds down a little bit, and the concrete separators are going to provide some nice separation there. The idea of getting bike lanes in here is a great one as well. Could that happen? Could we provide those facilities by rethinking the lane configurations? Coordinating, sorry, hang on a second. Yeah, so some interesting comments about the coordination of traffic signals, either trying to give thinking about green waves or possibly the other way around, and providing a dwell on red style scenario where maybe this area at night becomes quite a popular partying district, lots of bars and pubs and nightclubs going on and intoxicated pedestrians everywhere. There is the ability to do what we call a dwell on red, where those pedestrian signals would, as they are now, stick on red and only go to green every so often, where you'd let a wave of cars sort of through, or maybe you get your sensors to detect and they let them through. So essentially sort of intentionally slowing vehicles down through the area at certain times of the day. So it's a popular, well, I should say it's a popular treatment. It is used in the UK on the high streets quite often, especially, that Friday night, Saturday night, sort of time when we know there's high intoxicated pedestrian activity, and it genuinely discourages people from using the route, so that's a big bonus, but slows vehicles down. It's really a great treatment on, well, I see it in regional areas where there's a bypass, so the major highway bypasses a town, and there's an intersection where they're, in the town where there's a pub on a couple of corners, and I don't know, there's 24-hour KFC on another corner or something. It just means there's going to be activity late at night and people are milling around, and all of that sort of stuff we know that happens. It's not a major freight throughput route in those hours, and we really would discourage anybody from using that as the straight through. So that whole intersection could dwell on red and do a pretty good job of it. There's a couple of reports I can give people if they're interested in that sort of treatment. So variable speed limits, I think, again, are something underutilized. We have the technology easily available to alter speeds by time of day and by risk, and those should be investigated. And a couple more there. So I think that's some really good stuff. Again, we should be looking at the whole system as well, and what we can do with the people, the vehicles, the post-crash care, if there's anything we can think of. These ones are really, really difficult. these are our low volume rural roads. Now, this one's probably a much higher standard of road than many of the roads you've got in your area, and we know that the infrastructure, the massive infrastructure spend on these sorts of roads and lower volumes is not going to fly, because that's not where the majority of traffic is. As a result, the exposure is low, and we see low crash numbers at an individual road level, but you know, collectively there's quite an issue. So we're in a real bind, a real dilemma here. I can give you a sort of theoretical answer on this, and then the practical application of it's the challenge. Theoretically, these roads, the speed limit and should be significantly dropped, and we should be doing point-to-point speed camera or in-vehicle monitoring of speeds to ensure the compliance with that, because the volume is low, thereby the impact on the economy and society is low at a collective level. And the fast travel should be done on the major routes, and it should be more attractive to have to go an extra, I don't know, 30 kilometres on a very high standard road that had the investment, rather than going 30 kilometres less in your, I don't know, 150 kilometre journey on a very low safety standard road. So that should be what we should be doing, but I'm completely immersed in the understanding of the community's response to that sort of idea and thinking. So we need to be quite long-term strategic about it, and how we might go about sort of doing these things, and how vehicles are going to help us being able to operate at higher speeds on these sorts of roads with higher alignment with safe system principles. But in the interim, as is coming in the chat, and thank you for that, what we're really going to be focusing a lot on in these roads is continuing to look at the likelihood factors, such as the audio tactile edge line, a little bit of sealed shoulders, audio tactile center line, maybe wide center lines, enhanced delineation, and these sorts of features, which we know certainly reduce the likelihood of crashes in our safe system assessment matrix, and that's great. The severity of crashes doesn't get much of a run. We might do some isolated barriers and removal of maybe some of the highest risk hazards if we can, but we're still left with a very big residual severity if incidents happen because of the speeds that are happening at these. This one is a continual one we're going to have to work on, and you know, I think technology is going to have to help us out a lot here, in vehicle technology and the like. When you get to more high volume roads, you don't see any vehicles on this, but trust me, it's higher volume. This is where you start to look at bringing into place the central barrier systems, the outer barrier systems to influence the severity of crashes. Again, audio tactile edge line and enhanced delineation, all great to address the likelihood of crashes. At the intersections on these sorts of roads, this is where we have a spike in risk. Your safe system assessment score will significantly go up, or you might do a matrix around that, and you know that the scores will be higher. Again, in the theoretical ideal, you have a central barrier system that would come down here. You'd have a roundabout here, and then any of the access points along the way would be able to come out, accelerate up, and make their U-turn around the roundabout and go back. So that works really well, and you can sort of think of that combination of effects as you go about planning these, and it's nice to strategically think about a route from these perspectives. But when you don't have the ability to do that, you might think about slowing vehicles through these intersections. There's a lot of stuff happening around side road activated speed limits. So detect the vehicle on the side road and then actually lowers the speed limit on the main road. So as the risk appears, again, it changes. So lots of those in New Zealand, Victoria, South Australia. I don't know of any in Queensland, but I may be wrong. So called a variety of things. The New Zealanders call them RIOs, rural intersection activated warning signs, but they do warning speed signs. Anyway, they do warning, but they also do speed limit reduction. And called SRAS in Victoria, side road activated speeds, and in South Australia the same. So there's an option to reduce the likelihood and severity. And then, of course, your standard sort of intersection style treatments of things like improving sight distance lighting, turn bays and the like. That's all likelihood reduction. Trial in Queensland starting up now. Brilliant. I'll be watching that with interest. That's good. High volume outer suburban arterials, again, a big challenge. We spent quite a bit of the early sessions talking about this. You did that little exercise with an outer suburban arterial highway signalized intersection. So what we'd want to see is, I mean, there's acknowledgement generally in these areas that it's a high priority traffic movement. So we really need to provide completely separated facilities for vulnerable road users. The idea of, this is 80 kilometres per hour, the idea of bike lanes on this and 80 kilometre per hour traffic, we know it just doesn't align with safe system principles, needs that separated facility, completely separated with either, big bits of separation or barrier systems to separate. We really want to consolidate access points as much as possible. We want to slow people through the intersections, slow vehicles through the intersections, and ideally provide pedestrian separated facilities, overpasses, underpasses, if it's a genuine traffic priority road. Motorways and major freeways and the like operate really quite well when they're free flowing in terms of very, very low crash, casualty crash probability. They also operate very, very well when they're stuffed, when they're absolutely not moving, and that's just because there's no speed to create a fatal or serious injury crash. There's lots of minor little bingles. And so as the freeway sort of breaks down in terms of traffic flow is where we see the problems. So the managed motorways are they're really where you put your effort in terms of higher alignment with safe system principles. So pre-warning of congestion coming up, slowing speeds of vehicles on the approach to these sort of things. The algorithms easily available can predict when the saturation, or when it's about to start breaking down in terms of traffic flow, and you can proactively reduce your speed limit at that time. That also actually extends the time before it actually starts to break down in terms of traffic flow. Ramp metering, so those sorts of things, huge benefits. In terms of severity of crashes, tempted to look at altering from concrete, which we know is a fairly hard barrier system in terms of transferring energy to the occupants of the vehicle, to more flexible systems. However, it brings up lots of complications, especially in the median of these sorts of things and the like. And then major rural highways, big duplicated ones. Well, we've talked a bit about this, but it's going to be continuous barrier systems throughout when you've got the volume, and it's going to be grade separated interchanges or acceleration lanes slowing vehicles through the intersections. You do also want to think holistically about these treatments in terms of rest areas, points for enforcement to happen, points for vehicle checks for heavy vehicles, and holistically and strategically thinking about the route. Also, the behaviour of users. So that is pretty much where I wanted to get to. We've seen some great comments come in, and thank you for that. And I hope a few of you have managed to get your internet back, which it looks like quite a few might have done that. So that's good. And I'm going to just pop my camera on and hope that doesn't disrupt things too much. But it's about this point, yeah, where I open up to any last questions before I make just some closing remarks. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you. I know you're extremely busy. There's a huge amount on your plate at the moment with infrastructure rollout and all the funding and project planning and everything like that. And so thank you for taking the time to do this. I genuinely think it's a tool to add to the toolkit of ways that we can reduce death and serious injury to our community. It's a different way of looking at risk on the road network. It has similar characteristics to what we've been doing in the past, but it's got some really good new ways to look at a few things, and so it's a wonderful opportunity. You're really some of now Queensland's most experienced and knowledgeable safe system assessors. So your task now is to utilize the tool and to explain it to others, to encourage others to use it, and to push things along. You've got a really supportive head office there with Andrew and team, and Michael and Simon and the like, who really want to encourage its use. We are always available to answer questions and the like as you're going along. Please keep in contact with us. And yeah, I really think we can get some great wins. So thank you for your input. You've been wonderful at the chatting in terms of using the chat function in this online format. You've still got a bit of work to do, finishing off that safe system assessment. Some of you got it in, and I get to mark those, and I'm quite excited to have a look at how you've gone with it and how you've thought about it, and you'll get some feedback on that. You'll once you successfully submit that and you've completed all the other quizzes and assignments, you will be issued your certificate via email, plus you'll get a hard copy in the mail with any prizes that have been won along the journey. So Kathy will pack those and send those up to you in a little bit. You get a report card as well, which just basically gives you your scores that you got for the quizzes, the assignments, and the final assignment, and sort of aggregates those with all your comments. We really want to continue to get this information out to your local consultants, and so they can assist you and support you with this. We want local government to get involved. We also running our road safety audit course, which is the same format as this, but based on the road safety audit terminology. And we've just been approved by TMR that gets you onto your register of road safety auditors. So we'll be sending out some information about that as well. And if you are able to share that with local government or others in your office that are interested in becoming road safety auditors as well. But we'll keep you informed of this, but we really encourage you to help us skill up your industry because they will be your support mechanisms if you don't have the time to be able to go through this process yourself. And we want them just as knowledgeable about this as you are becoming. I want to thank Kathy for all the work in organising, getting it all happening together and helping out behind the scenes. Her and her team do a wonderful job of that. I certainly love doing this, and I love the fact that you've all been so interactive with this. So we've got one more quiz to do, so finish that off and pop your assignment in, but keep in contact if you have any questions or comments. Anything to finish it off, Kathy?
No, I think you've covered it all, Ken. So thanks very much for that. And yeah, it's not over. So do feel free to get in touch if you've got questions or anything of the like. And yes, happy to extend it out to next Thursday for people. And if you've got any issues at all, please get in touch as some people have been doing. But yeah, thanks again, lovely Queensland group. It's very, very nice. We're very jealous because we generally can't get out of our state at the moment, but when we can, we'll head up your way, that's for sure.
Thanks, everyone.
Ken. Great job, lovely passion once again for saving people's lives on the road. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.